Welcome to the Navigating Magic podcast, where we explore the interplay between intuition, ethereal consciousness, and everything in between. I teach beings how to generate change through their attention to energies, truths, and processes that are invisible to others. I'm your host, Natasha Andreo. Hello and welcome to the next episode of my podcast, Navigating Magic. I can't tell you how grateful I am that you're here, and I really thank you for liking this podcast and also sharing it with people who you think may enjoy learning more about everything that I talk about. Now, as you may be aware, earlier this year we lost our precious fur baby Romeo, and 10 days after he passed away, we connected with our very own animal communicator, Anna Marie Ellison. Nick and I have known Anna Marie for a number of years, ever since, I think 2020 to be precise, when our other bunny Sooty passed away. And we have been utilizing her talents and gifts ever since then in order to connect with our own bunnies when we need help. Yes, I may be an animal communicator myself, however, because I'm so emotionally involved with them, sometimes I find it to detach and essentially discern the information from my intuition versus my egoic orientation. In this episode, we connect with Romeo exactly 10 days after he passed away, and it was very raw. You can tell we are in the grief state, and it gave us such a sense of closure and optimism at the same time. It's the most beautiful way to, I guess, receive guidance and light from spirit after your bunnies pass away. I really hope you enjoy this episode. I'll leave Anna Marie's details below. You can contact her because she is so incredible, so gifted, and I am so grateful for you, Anna Marie, because you really have changed our lives in immeasurable ways. Let me know what you think of the episode below. Lots of love.
And imagine that there's a stream of light or a rainbow connecting from your heart to Romeo's heart. Just gently keep breathing into that for a moment. I can feel a lot of your emotion right now. So we're just going to stay here for a second until that kind of calms itself. So allow yourself to connect heart to heart with him and be thinking about some of your happiest moments that you've shared with him. Maybe the moment he came into your life, some of the silly things that he would do, some of the ways he would interact with the other bunnies or yourselves. And as you're accessing those memories, I'm going to connect in with Romeo and see what he would like to share for the purpose of our reading today. And when you feel comfortable, you can go ahead and open your eyes again. So as I connected with Romeo, he immediately comes right up to me, right up to me is right up in my face, like that close. He's like, woo. He's like, what's going on over here? There's the gentle yet friendliness that comes through with him. He's just so direct and so just in my face, hey, what's up? Very curious, very into it. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
That was him.
Let's see what else he wants to share. It's funny because he's still right here, right? And I'm like, why are you so up in my face? Like, what is this all about? And he's just giving me this feeling of kind of sometimes being a little bit annoying, the way that he just kind of would keep getting in there and getting into stuff and really the phrase that's coming to me is kind of trying your patience sometimes. He's just really right up in there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, let's see what else here. And then he kind of backs off and he kind of goes into like the far corner over here and he's showing me like the view from the corner of being like really watching and seeing like the full picture of everything. Um, and not only is this kind of how he was here, he's still doing this right now with you guys. Like he's just kind of like hanging back and he's kind of taking it all in still and just kind of observing you guys and the other rabbits and just kind of like assessing how everybody's doing, but really being still really present with you guys is how that's coming through. Let's see what else here. He's so funny. He's very funny. He's over here and he's kind of like filing his nails and he's just kind of like showing me kind of laying back, all like chill. And then he looks up and he's watching and then he's like trying to be nonchalant about like his attitude. He's just like, yeah, I'm here, I'm watching, I'm not really doing anything. I'm just, like very kind of cool and confident in himself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Sounds very accurate.
Okay. All right. So I'm just asking him where he wants to go from here. So hang on a second. Okay. He wants to go right into your question, whatever question you want to start with. So wherever you guys want to go.
We didn't talk about, we should have.
Yeah.
I think, okay. Do you want to ask? I don't want to ask about his passing. Did you want to?
I don't think so. Like, if it is that, then the only question I can ask is, like, did we do everything we could? But
Yeah.
I already sort of know that answer from like what we're used to with this.
Yeah,
But up
yeah.
to you.
Okay. Okay. I would love to know what is our soul lesson with Romeo, because I feel like we've got 5 other rabbits. We've had 2 pass, or 3 now. And, you're not supposed to have favorites. We all know, and, no parent would, but Romeo really had a special place in my life. I really believe it's because of Romeo that I met Nick. He made me believe in love again. So I would love to know. I think on some level I know, and when I try to connect with him, I feel it. I know what it is, but I would love to hear it from his perspective.
As you were saying that, he was showing me, the name Romeo, we think of Romeo and Juliet, right? And so he's showing me the scene, the balcony scene, and he's saying there's no coincidence in my name, right? There's no coincidence in that. And so I'm just gonna ask him. I'm gonna ask him to tell me about, what was his purpose here with you guys. And I'm gonna start with you, Natasha, and then we'll go to Nick and see what he was working on with Nick as well. So hang on. Okay, so Romeo, can you tell us what your soul lesson is with Natasha? So how he starts this is he shows me you, this is weird how he's explaining this, but he shows me you lying down and he actually shows me like you near like shutting a door from this lying down position. I don't know what that means, but you're like laying on this flat thing and then I see you really close to the door and it's like I see you like literally like slam this door shut. And there's this feeling like the room that you're in though feels very cold, very stark, very like white, like everything looks like white straight lines, very clean, very but cold. Does that make sense to you?
I guess.
Okay, so it feels like the coldness, the white coldness of everything, it feels very much like, how do I explain it? The word that's coming is like clinical, like
Okay.
very, I don't know why it's coming through like that. I'm just gonna kind of put it aside for now, because I feel like there's more there. But he's focusing, like, he really wanted me to talk about like how the room is very empty, very clean, very empty, very pristine, but cold, and the door is shut. Like, you shut the door, you shut yourself in here, is what that feels like. And when I connected with you, there's this feeling of um kind of like you're just like over it, like, I'm done, I don't want any more of this. I like whatever's on the other side of this door, it feels like I need space away from that, is how that's coming through. And you kind of putting yourself into this room of nothingness, no color, no warmth, any of that feels very important to him describing where you were when he met you, when Romeo came into your life. Does that make sense? Okay, so let me see what else here. And in that kind of nuisance, annoying way that he was kind of like nudger and keep getting in there and keep pushing and pushing, that was his way of kind of like pulling you out of whatever this was that you were going through, that helped you. Because what I see on the other side of the door is kind of like when you open the door in The Wizard of Oz, and the other side of the door is like all of a sudden color, and then the rainbows and all of the vibrational stuff and the joy and everything. How he shows that to me is like all of a sudden, like, he pushed that door open. He's saying, like, he's showing me the nudging and the nudging of like you kind of like no no no, but him like yes 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 pushing that. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
Okay, tell me what that means.
Before I adopted Romeo, I had my white rabbit, Rafi. I lived alone. I had no access to family. I was very isolated. And I think that the clinical component, I'm like your typical Virgo. I've got OCD, so everything has to be prim and proper and no mess. And it drives me crazy. It drives Nick crazy. And when Romeo actually came into my life, I rescued him, and he smelt like the farm. And now I could say I love the farm smell, but at the time he ruined my little vibe, my perfect pristine apartment. And I actually wanted to return him because he didn't fit into my white picture perfect world. And a colleague like slapped me and said, how can you just return a rabbit? You chose him, you adopted him. And I had to come to terms with that. And now I feel really guilty about even thinking those things, because he became the best thing ever to enter my world. And I think he showed me that a little mess is okay.
Yeah. And so he's bringing me into a little bit deeper of the soul lesson of not only opening your heart a little bit more, but opening your whole world in a new way, of allowing yourself to see beyond what your limited vision was at the time, right? So for him, part of his soul lesson was that opening up of beyond what your safety zone is, and letting you kind of in an uncomfortable, pushy way kind of get out of that, and see that how much there can be gained from stepping outside of your comfort zone, which he's showing me like you since then have done over and over and over again. But if you look at the big picture things of like the huge stuff that you did since he came into your life, of how there was something with him there kind of as part of that you were like, oh, I have to do this because Romeo this, or like there's this feeling of like he's kind of like behind the scenes, like, hey, I orchestrated this kind of stuff, right? So he's showing me like every time that you let yourself go to that uncomfortable, messy place, as you call it, that there was something there from him pushing you, like, it's okay. Look at you were okay with me, you're going to be okay with this. And then something, you kind of go into these kind of like hills and valleys, like when you get down in this place in the valley that is actually more comfortable to you, because that's where it's safe and it's clean and all of that. And he's like, when you push into that place that's up on the top of the hill, and then you get to slide down it, like that's where the good parts is what he's saying. So giving you the kind of like those boosts of one, confidence that it's going to be okay, but also trusting in yourself. Does that make sense?
It does.
Do you have any questions about that part so far?
No.
Okay, let me just see if there's anything else he wants to share about that. And so I don't tear up when I do reading, you guys. Why? So part of his timing of his crossing is he feels you're at this place now where you can do this on your own. That you are like, you are so ready for that next door that's opening that he doesn't need to be in there nudging and pushing from here, still working with you from the other side. But he's saying that you're ready for that. You're ready to take that step on your own. Make sense?
Sadly, yes.
Yeah.
I'd rather do it with him.
Sure. Absolutely. And he's still with you, and he's still going to be working on setting things up, is how he's saying it, setting things up from the other side in ways that he couldn't do with physical body things here. So he's working from the spiritual end on the things that are coming. And because what he shows me is kind of the way that he shows this to me is he shows me like a path, and he shows me like short ways down the path. Like, this is short. And there's kind of this light opening explosion kind of thing that happens. And the way that comes through is like all of a sudden, how he shows me you now is like pieces of a lot of things pulling together. And the way that he shows me this point in the path of this kind of light expanding, this illuminating, is like all of a sudden it clicks, and like the things fall in place, and then you're like, oh, this is the thing. This is the path that, like, where all of this comes together. Instead of being the bits and pieces of a lot of different things, it looks very streamlined to me. It looks very focused. And in the focus, though, there's so much more confidence behind it, of being this being the path versus there being like all of these different trails to possibly go on. The one path that it ends up being, for now, because it does look like that changes down the road, but that he's kind of bringing that together for you to see, and will be sending you signs of how to do that, how to get there, how to narrow that for yourself, so that you don't feel so kind of when I connect in with you, I feel a little surrounded everything that's going on around, like all of the different things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But it does feel like when connecting in with you that you are starting to like that. It does feel like it's starting to hone in a little bit more than it was. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go to Nick.
Little. I've just literally this past week started to redo my website, and I've changed everything.
Okay.
So I know exactly what that's referring to.
Okay. Perfect. Good. All right, so Nick, I'm going to move on to you and see what Romeo. I'm sorry, before I do that though, Natasha, did you have anything else that you wanted to ask about that? Okay.
No, thank you, Romy.
All right, so. Okay, so when he shows me, when I connect in to Nick through Romeo, the first picture that he shows me is you like digging. There's digging happening. But there's also this feeling of like you're constantly digging other people out of situations, right? Like there's this, like you're the one people come to like help them with the hard stuff, like and simple stuff like, hey, can you help us move? But also like more emotional stuff. It's like you're the solid kind of rock that people come to for the support for, and the way he shows like the balance of like the scale feel really, and he shows me it's like very even, very reliable, that you're somebody that can always be counted on across the board. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
For him, what he's showing me is being able to rely on you for that consistency and that feeling of safety, of knowing what to expect from you all the time. And I don't say this in a negative way, Natasha, but Natasha is more spontaneous, more like, look at this stuff, and like the shiny light, right? and and it's an amazing thing because you're like constantly looking and grabbing and trying new things, right? Where the way that Romeo shows me Nick is more like, okay, we're just like, let's find some even ground here. Let's not get too crazy. Let's have this kind of baseline thing that feels for him very safe to be, that like that kind of energy feels very comforting, very safe to be around. Does that make sense to you?
Yep.
So I'm just going to ask him a little bit like about what is the soul lesson that he was working on with you with all of that. What I heard was that it's okay to be the one to need. You be the needy versus people needing you, right? And so the way that he is showing me your relationship with him, like he's kind of like your teddy bear. Like he shows me like he's your comfort. He's kind of like the snuggle bug of being able to go to him, and just when you're with him, like everything feels like calmer, simpler, easier. It's like a little escape, right? And so he's showing me that that ability that you don't let a lot of people see that part of you. And so he was that safe space for you to be able to open that up a little more. And actually that benefited your relationship together for both of you, because it was his way of helping you kind of crack a little bit of the shell off of the heart, right? So that you guys could let Natasha in even more, right? So being kind of that little bit of buffer of when things emotionally get hard or challenging, that it was easy to have kind of that him as a little bit of a distraction in there to kind of be the cushion when things were maybe a little hard to speak or be emotional and all of that. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
And so he's going to also, where are you now with his crossing and the timing of all of that? And the phrase that he's using is strength and vulnerability. And how you, why tears? Why? The way why I'm getting so teary is because of all of the pride he's making me feel behind this.
The red, did you say?
The pride.
Oh, pride.
Really proud of you for allowing yourself to be vulnerable in a way that some people might look at as weakness, when in reality, he's saying to realize how strong you are because you allowed yourself and continue to allow yourself to be vulnerable in the way that you do. Makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so you've kind of gotten to this space where that vulnerability is actually kind of comfortable for you in a lot of ways, where you couldn't say that a year ago or a couple of years ago, where now it's like you're more confident in it and you're okay with sometimes being vulnerable in places that you wouldn't have been before. So that needing that kind of buffer or that security blanket kind of feel isn't necessary for you anymore, because you have that strength within yourself and there's more confidence for you behind that. Makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Any questions about that?
Like that all makes sense to me. So I don't really have a question about that. Like it just clicks. I can see how what's happened in the real world is reflected by what he's saying. So yeah, I can't say I have any specific questions about anything else either. Like I want to ask, but I just don't know what, basically. I guess one sort of thing I wanted to ask was, he was in and out of vets all his life. At times, like after we were introduced to this spiritual world, we asked for signs from him, and like one night we were laying on the floor while he was at the vet. Sorry.
Do you want me to share?
And we had asked for a sign that he was going to be okay, and neither of us had our phones on us. They were on the other side of the room. And do you know, I don't know if you're an Apple user or a Samsung user or whatever, but there's that voice assistant from Siri or Google Assist. Yeah. And one of our phones turned on and said, "I'm going to be okay." So like, I'm not asking for confirmation whether that was him, because we're both sure, yeah. But more so, what was, why, I don't know, why was his life challenging for him? Why was he always in vets and coming back? And yeah, was there a lesson in that as well?
Okay. All right. So I'm going to ask him to start with what's with all the vet stuff? What do you guys need to know about why the health stuff in and out of the vets so frequently through his whole life? Part of this is helping you guys see resilience, helping you guys know there's always hope. There's always something that can bring you back, right? Giving you that as you guys got on this spiritual journey, you needed these signs, right? You needed this stuff to keep happening to give you kind of keep pulling you into the next part of your journey. And even though obviously you didn't want to see him be suffering or ill or having to go through all of this, but the parts of that were actually him helping you access like the next level of stuff, right? And the way that he makes me feel this, and this is interesting, I've never had an animal explain it like this before. It's like the way that, and you're not even aware of this happening for you guys, but the way that when you shift up a level, when you move into a new kind of dimensional beingness, right? I don't even know if that's a phrase, but your physical body goes through so much change that you actually need to kind of catch up to yourself, right? Like your physical body really needs actual time to rest and restore because you've made such a huge shift. And the way that he's showing this to me is him having these kind of episodes and these things that going on took you out of the hustle bustle of normal daily stuff and really pulled you into this place of being in the present moment with him, getting really quiet and give each other and him that extra care and that kind of feeling of, okay, we're just gonna rest, we're gonna take care of you, we're gonna watch over you. And so him pulling you into this energetic space of the caretaking afterwards was actually him modeling for you, okay, it's time to take care of yourself. So if you have a chance to kind of go back and look at when those biggest things were happening for him, how he's really asking you to slow it down and let yourself kind of rest and take this in, because your physical body needs caretaking right now, and you weren't going to do it for yourself, he's saying. So he had to kind of push you and give you a reason to slow it down and focus, because the way that he shows it to me is like, you guys drop everything when it came with him, right? Anything that came up, like, oh, we've got to take him in, this is, this going on, but you won't do that for yourselves, right? So him doing that for you was his way of slowing it down, bringing you back, kind of in the present moment, giving you that chance to restore yourselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. What a gift that was.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And at the time, I'm sure it doesn't, certainly didn't feel like it, but it's one way that our animals do show us, like, hey, you need to slow down. You need to take some time for yourself here.
That hits deep.
Yeah. When you're pushing, and this is what I'm hearing, when you're pushing hard to get to the next thing, there's also a value, he's saying, in pausing and letting the next thing fall into place instead of pushing for it. Let it fall into place. Okay. Because if you keep pushing, that's when you end up in the ailment and the sickness and the exhaustion and all of that, right? So giving yourself space to also celebrate when you hit something big. Really celebrate that and use that energy as life force energy to help restore you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What else?
One question that came, sorry, there are two. I know it's cliche and we always ask this, but I guess to be a bit more specific, what did he love most about being with us?
Romeo, what did you love most about being with Nick and Natasha? That was easy. So what he showed me was, first he made me feel it. So I'm feeling your guys' energy, but what he showed me is the way that your energy together, he shows it to me as like a dance. So I don't know if you guys actually dance a lot, but that's the way he shows it to me. He shows it to, like, the energy is this beautiful exchange that from his point of view looks like a beautiful waltz or something. The way that it's like swirling, and he's showing just sitting back and watching that, and how the energy of that is just so beautiful and energizing. Make sense?
Yeah.
Are you guys actual dancers? I have to ask.
I always try to get Nick to dance, and he's always saying no.
And then the great thing about this is the energy between you, whether it's physically dancing or not, but the energy of love between you guys is the dance, is where the sparkle comes from that he's seeing. Even if it's just like moving around each other as you're making dinner, is how he shows that to me, right? The way that you guys kind of are in sync with each other, and the way you just kind of flow around each other. And then there's this, he's showing me like the physical affection between you guys, of like even when you pass each other, it's like the way that he shows it to me is like you pass each other, but then like maybe just part of your arm like touches the other one. It's like this spark comes off. It's like this like energy that even just being near each other, you guys feed off of each other, and that is beautiful, is how he shows that.
That's precious.
Yes.
Did you have another question?
The other question was, are there any specific ways that I can like connect with him, or ways that I can raise my vibration to connect with him?
Okay. All right, so Romeo, and I'm going to include Natasha on this too. What are some ways that Nick and Natasha can connect in with you or raise their vibration? Connect in. Nick's not going to like this.
Oh no.
The first thing I heard was dance, right? Because dance raises your vibration.
Thank you, Romeo.
I love it. He's being a little cheeky about that, but he's like, I had to say it. But it's true. The energy of the dance raises your vibration. When you're in that higher vibration, it's easier to connect. When you're in that energy of that type of vibration, whether it's actual dance or not, those type of activities that get you excited like that there's kind of this grace and this flow to it, is when it's easier to connect, and when it's easier to actually get the signs, right? So when you're moving in that way, or feeling the music, or whatever it is, that's the energy you want to achieve, like get to that, you're feeling that good, that excitement, that freedom, that free flowing kind of like moving your body in that way, where the signs will come in easier for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do those emotional feelings need to necessarily come from dance though? Can it come from playing music or anything?
It can come from the music, because the energy you feel, Nick, it's different the way Natasha feels it. Like she wants to express it outwardly, right? Where you're more inwardly feeling it. Your energy on the inside is raising, right? So you can raise your vibration from the inside, where Natasha wants to like move from the outside and do it, right? So totally that can come from the inside. So you don't have to actually be like flying around the house and doing things. You can you can just be in that place where like seeing is like even like playing drums and stuff like that, the energy, the beat of that, right? Like that's the kind of thing that like I feel that pulsing kind of energy, that's going to raise your vibration. And it's kind of this free flow that happens when you're in that creative state of doing something like drumming or whatever musical thing it is. That it's in that free flow creative state where your vibration shoots up super high. And then when you're there, that's when you say like, hey, Romeo, can you send us a sign? Just let us know that you're here. Or, you know, when you're like feeling all of that, drop into the present moment for a second and really like go to your heart space like we did in the beginning and do that rainbow bridge connecting heart to heart and ask him to send you a message and see what comes through. Right? Because that's when you're more open. You're already in that part of your body, your brain, where you're open to the creativity part, that imagination part. So it's easier to receive messages and to trust the messages that are coming through.
That's precious.
Yeah. Did you?
I would love to ask Romeo, is there anything that our other bunnies need from us?
Okay. Yeah. So, Romeo, what do the other bunnies need from Nick and Natasha? The way that he shows this to me is he shows me I don't know that it's a cage, it's like an enclosed area, right? So he shows me you guys like watching over the top of this, watching over them. And there's this feeling of like, are they okay? What's going on over there? It's like this very almost every little movement, you're like worried.
Yep. That's
And there's kind of an obsessiveness about it, and it's causing stress for you. And he's saying like you need to back off, because what is happening is that stressful energy that you're holding in that space of like, are they okay? What's going to happen? Is this normal? Is that, you know, why are they doing that? It's actually like illuminating onto them, it's permeating onto them, and you don't want to give them that energy, right? So when you go to them, having this energy of, hey, you guys are great, look great today. Is there anything you need? You need to show me if there's something that you need. Going in with that energy of how can I help you versus what's wrong? Why is that different? What's going on with you guys? Can you feel the difference in how that energy comes off?
definitely.
It's when you guys interact with each other, right? If you were to come in with like, what's wrong with you today? Versus, hey, is there something I can do for you today?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's the difference? He's saying like that's the biggest thing right now that you can do for the rest of them, is to be in that space of open energy of, we're fine, everything's fine, and you're going to show us if something's not fine, instead of coming from that kind of pessimistic kind of place where it's just coming from a place of fear and worry is all that is.
Yeah.
So now you know, now you know better.
Yeah. Definitely. That one hits hard.
Yeah. And it's understandable, right? Because you've gone through a lot, and this is heavy on your hearts, right? So of course now he's gone, Romeo's gone, and yet you're trying to make sure that everybody else is okay, and that, you know, they're missing him too. So know that they are feeling, you know, the lack of his presence. They are going through their own grief process as well. But having your energy, be honest about your energy with them, be honest about your feelings with them. Just don't project things onto them.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could totally be with them and be like, hey, I'm missing Romeo. I wish that he was here. You know, he really filled this space, and I miss him being here, and I'm sad. You can absolutely express those emotions with them. Just don't project onto them anything that might be going on with you that you might be trying to foresee in the future with.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
Do you have anything?
That was really special, very sacred.
Wait, I've got one
Oh,
more.
sorry.
Do you have another question? Oh, sorry, the last question, and this is the cliche one, but I need to ask it for my own sort of closure. Is did he feel like we gave him the best life possible, and was there anything else we could have done?
So he's answering the second question first. No, there was nothing else you could have done. And he's also showing me a book, and he's showing me like the chapters, going through the chapters of the book and just kind of like checking things off, like, whoop, that's done. Whoop, we did that. We did that. Like everything according to plan is how that's coming through, because he's still kind of taking the responsibility for everything. So to speak, like he's like, I was a big part of this, and my choices to be part of this family, no regrets about any of that, and also giving me this feeling of, I don't know that rabbits do this, he's making me want to purr. So he's making me feel that kind of like kind of vibrational, fuzzy, warm kind of energy. And that's what he's saying he always felt with you guys, was that kind of comfort, that safety, and happiness. Like even when you guys were like frustrated with him, there's still this feeling of love, and letting him get away with kind of more than maybe you might others, and feeling that specialness from you guys always. Okay.
Thank you, Anna Marie.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much. Yeah, it's sad that we love you, but it's sad that these are the times we get to see you.
I know. One day you'll come here, I'll come there. And we'll have a real legitimate love fest that doesn't include animals on the other side.
You definitely want to do your Healed by a Horse experience.
Absolutely. I'd love to have you guys here for that. I would absolutely love it. And I think that you would get so much out of that. Absolutely. You're more than welcome anytime to come stay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You can even bring the bunnies.
In our own private jet.
I'll send mine for you, don't worry.
This was very, very sacred. There's so many pointers, so many, you went to a lot of depth. Romeo did give us a lot. I can really see how our soul's evolution happens with our animals, parallel to us. And that's something that nothing else in this life, nothing else we encounter can ever give us in the same way.
No.
Yeah, we don't have kids yet, so they really are our babies, but I just don't feel like human babies could do the same.
It's definitely a different experience.
It is.
I mean, I don't have babies either, so I can't talk to that, but I just know I feel the same about each of my animals in their own way, their special way, how each one of them has been touched my life and helped form where I am now and helped me create everything that I have now. And so always having gratitude for the animals in our life and how much they bring to our journey, that we can't even imagine what's going on behind the scenes sometimes of how that gets orchestrated, but always so grateful. And it was such an honor, as always, to do a reading for you guys. I love you so much.
Thank you.
I'm happy to hear this was helpful for you. And if you ever need anything, you know to reach out, okay?
Definitely.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you again. Lots
You're
of love.
welcome.
Thanks, Anna Marie.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Wherever you're listening from, if you can give us a review and a 5-star rating, that would be so helpful in supporting this podcast. If this episode lights you up and inspires you, then please make sure that you share this podcast and make sure that you tag me on Instagram. I am beyond grateful and so blessed to call this work. It just means so much. Together, we will learn and grow. Staying anchored in your heart means staying anchored to your humanity. All my love, Natasha.